बट सर एक बात बताओ,
बोलिए ना।
अगर आप डेंटिस्ट नहीं होते तो आप क्या करते हैं?
क्या? मैं डेंटल मटेरियल्स बेचता, इक्विपमेंट बेचता। हाँ।
और
फिर उसका ऐप बनाता, फिर उसका आईपीओ निकालता, उसमें बहुत पैसे कमाता।
और
गुरूर नहीं रखता, ठीक है।
Okay.
फिर एक स्टूडेंट को पकड़ता, पालक मेथी टाइप की कोई ऐसी, और एक डेंटल क्रिएटर्स समिट बनाता, स्पॉटलाइट इवेंट टाइप का, ऐसा बड़ा।
एक सेकंड
हाँ।
यही तो हमारे डेंटल कार्ट ने किया है सर।
विक्कू भी ना सारे मेरे सपने चोरी कर लेता है।
सर ये विक्कू कौन है सर?
अरे बड़े लोग हैं यार, तुम रहने दो यार, ठीक है। बट यार इससे मुझे समझ में आता है कि पैसा कमाना कितना जरूरी है, ठीक है। कुछ ऐसा करना चाहिए जिससे पैसा कमाया जाए, जैसे कि अंडा पनीर बनना है हमको।
लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, डॉक्टर जिब्रान अपनी भावनाओं में बह रहे हैं। आप कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं?
वो जो बिजनेस करते हैं उसको क्या बोलते हैं? अंडा पनीर?
अंडा पनीर नहीं सर, मुझे लग रहा है आप कहना चाह रहे हैं एंटरप्रेन्योर।
हाँ वही एंटरप्रेन्योर, ठीक है।
भाई किस बात के पैसे मिल रहे हैं, किस बात के?
तो क्यों ना ऐसे लोगों को स्टेज पे बुलाया जाए जो अपने एंटरप्रेन्योर स्किल्स शेयर करके हम सबको कुछ टिप्स दे सके। I would like to call upon our entrepreneur panel on stage. Put your hands together for Dr. Pedi Shanmukh Srinivas, the CEO and founder of Theranautilus. Dr. Pedi Shanmukh Srinivas. He's outside? Okay. Can you please call him on stage, please? I'll take his chair till then. Okay, so I'd like to call Dr. Shanmukh Srinivas, the CEO and founder of Theranautilus. Please come on stage, sir. Okay, very easy. Come, Professor. Please have a seat. Dr. Vidhi Bhanushali, CEO and co-founder of Scano. Where's Dr. Vidhi? Dr. Ridhi Rathi Sheth, founder and MD of OrthoSquare. Dr. Shilika Leela Ramani, CEO and founder of VScan Diagnostics. Dr. Vidhi. Dr. Vidhi, hi. Dr. Shilika Lilarmani, CEO and founder of VScan Diagnostics. Please welcome, ma'am. Dr. Jatin Kakrani, COO and CCO of DESI. And Dr. Vikas Agarwal, CEO and founder of Dental Cart. Yeah. Dr. Vikas will join us in some time. He's in a podcast. The panel will be moderated by the Associate Dean of the Manipal College of Dental Sciences, Dr. Shrikant Natarajan. Sir, please come on stage.
पहुंच गया.
Are you wearing a Mr. India watch or something? I didn't see you there. So, sir, please take over. Have the discussion with the panelists here.
Is it missing, Vikas?
Dr. Vikas is in a podcast, sir. He'll be joining us in some time.
Yeah. So should we begin?
Yes, absolutely.
please.
The stage is all yours. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting off with the entrepreneurship panel. Can we have a huge round of applause, guys? Come on. We'll take off.
So thank you everyone. After the eventful talks before, it's going to be a different group here. So I welcome all the panelists on the stage. Maybe you can pick up one mic for yourself and say you. And just a quick introduction for those who don't know you, because, yeah, we'll start with Shanmukh, please. Ladies first, please. Please start. Don?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Shilika Leela Ramani, the founder of VScan Diagnostics. So at VScan, we are building India's largest on-demand dental diagnostic network. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Over to you, Vidhi. On.
Hello, good morning everybody. Such a good energy in the room today. So I'm Dr. Vidhi Bhanushali, CEO and founder at Scano, where we are making oral screenings accessible for everybody through AI and also making it fun so that 75% of our audience who's not able to get access to screenings now are.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon and good morning. I think it's in the middle. I'm Dr. Riddhi Rati, co-founder of Ortho Square Dental Clinic. Today we stand at 125 centers across the country. It is the second largest dental chain in India, and it is the only dental chain which is of this size, which is non-funded. It is completely owned by me and Dr. Kunal.
Excellent, superb. Jatin?
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jatin Kakrani. I'm a co-founder of Desi, formerly known as Smiles.ai. We are leading dental chain with a new age approach coming to dental clinics with innovations around tech, where we give a lot of convenience to the customers by making dental care accessible and fair for the customers. We have 40 company-owned clinics and 100 plus partner centers. We are backed by likes of Sequoia Capital, Falconet, Chirate Ventures, and many marquee investors on our cap table as our partners. That's brief about that.
Great to have you here. Shanmugh?
Hello. Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Shanmugh, and primarily I'm student of Professor Shrikant and Professor Dilip, and everything else doesn't matter. So yeah, also CEO of Thera Nautilus. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. So a big round of applause for everyone. Thank you all the entrepreneurs, all the researchers here. So what we are going to plan is we are going to have we have been given 45 minutes, and with the consent of all the panelists here, we will be bouncing some questions to you, and restrict yourself to 30 seconds to maybe 90 seconds max among each topics, and give us your viewpoints and how we can learn from all of you and your activities. So we will have some keywords all around. So the first keyword will be that there's a lot of passion. All of you are entrepreneurs, isn't it? So let's see how you discovered the passion. We'll start with Shanmugh from BDS. Yeah, we'll start with you. From BDS to IISc and research, how did you discover that you want to do such a thing?
I was always gravitated towards research. I loved clinics for the knowledge of it, but mostly I loved doing research, and that too deep research, not just something which is already existent and you're doing some combinations of it. I wanted to build something which sort of doesn't exist and that sort of stuff. I know it sounds very outlandish, but that was always the motive. Research was the motive. So I joined IISc. Then we worked on nanorobotics, which is sort of cutting edge even today. So, and there was there are some 6-7 groups across the globe trying to translate nanorobotics into clinics. And I was never wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. So they said, let's translate nanorobotics into clinics. Since I'm a dentist, I thought, okay, rather than going for cancer first, let's go for dental care because it's close to heart, and that's how the journey started. So it started very accidentally. My passion is research. Entrepreneurship is just a byproduct of it, at least in my case.
Yeah, all right, excellent. So keeping that accidental serendipity maybe, Vidhi, you are doing something on Scano with AI and how it empowers diagnosis. How did you discover that passion? Serendipity again?
Yes. So as Dr. Velmani just said, right, you need to have that kamna of changing and disrupting the processes which has been redundant, which are not working out. And that's how I think it led to starting of Scano. The story goes way back, I think 15, 16 years back. I was just sharing with this with somebody that this event, the energy feels like a tech event. Before me attending all the dental conferences, I was super regular to tech events. It started with me attending the Google Developer Groups events, and the energy, the passion for innovation and solving for population, and then seeing that impact coming true used to be so energetic. And I thought, wow, what if we can bring this passion and we can bring population scale solutions through technology, not just technology enabled, but technology first solutions to dentistry. We can definitely change the world. So that's how it all started.
All right. So you wanted to help the community more, and then you started with AI.
I wanted to build something patient first and patient centric, because as doctors, as practitioners, we have a lot of things which have been happening for us to improve our skills. But what about patient centric and patient first experience?
Excellent, excellent. Keeping that, Dr. Jatin, you have set up this Smiles AI now, Desi, and you have a lot of AI-based workflows. So how do you look at technology? What is your suggestion that all the dentists, all the entrepreneurs should look at technology as?
So in dental care, our thesis was one of the biggest problem in dental care is pre-purchase clarity. Like most of the consumers don't get absolute pre-purchase clarity when they are coming to the clinics. They are not able to know what would be the kind of implants required, what would be the post-operative results if they are going for any aesthetic treatments like aligners, smile designing. So we have leveraged technology to show absolute post-operative results and give minute pre-purchase clarity to the consumers. And when we leverage technology, the cost is minimal, so we are able to provide all of that reports and free of cost to the customers. So we are able to access like lot more customers. That's why in terms of matrix, like arguably we have like the highest revenue per clinic when we compare to any other dental chain in the country, any other organized player in the country, and we get very high ticket size treatments because of this approach. And we have got like best technology people much ahead of AI curve to build all of this.
So if you want technology, you want to use one word for technology, what would it be? Assistant? What would we look at technology as?
One word would be difficult. One sentence would be like scaling. With like leveraging technology to scale products and standardizing.
Standardizing. All right. Excellent. So Dr. Reddy, you have a chain of 120 plus clinics. So what do you look for as in fresh dental graduates in terms of leadership? What kind of skills sets do you think they should develop so that to come into such a corporate world?
When it comes to what skill set that you are looking at any dental graduate that joins you or anybody, see, all of us hire, even you guys as single chair owners will hire. What happens is that you are not looking at the dentist as somebody who's trained and come, like Dr. Veluram, he said that, you have to train them to think like you. The only quality that you look at in the dentist should be that whether they will be adaptable to the, dynamics of, your clinic, your work ethos, and are they, going to become an asset to you in a long run. Nobody, not even me when I started, knew that I had this leadership quality or I had this entrepreneurship quality. So when you start, the growth and the journey is in retrospection. So when you are looking at somebody, and even you as anybody who is practicing, has to start thinking from the perspective that the associate is two extra hands that are added to your practice to increase your revenue. Say suppose you are actually making 5 lakh rupees, the 2 hands that you are hiring should be able to upgrade that to 8 or 10 lakhs. So when you are looking at anybody as a dentist, you should think not only from the perspective of your clinical skills, but soft skills, managerial skills, and all of this are
They
teachable.
should learn that, yes.
It is teachable.
Understood.
Yeah?
Understood. Excellent. So Shilika, coming to that same concept, you also have a chain. You have a chain of Vscan, and you also will require some entrepreneurial skills to develop. What would you be looking for?
So privately at Vscan, we are trying to build Thyrocare, right? There's no brand at a nationalized level when it comes to advanced diagnostics, be it CBCT, OPG. It's very localized. And we started off with our own centers, right? A few of our own centers. And then we realized that there are a lot of problems that every center faces.
Okay.
And using technology, we are able to solve for a lot of them and also solve for problems that the dentists face. Because if you see, dentistry has evolved a lot in the last 10 years. 10 years ago, implants weren't so common. Aligners was not a thing. And I think in general, it was more about fillings and root canals, not so complex. But as treatment has got complex, I think, diagnostics has not kept up. And that's where we are trying to bridge that gap. When it comes to leadership, and entrepreneurship, owning what we're doing, I think for us, every center, every technician, every business development manager we work with, we look at inculcating a sense of ownership. Unless you don't say, this is my center, these are my patients. I mean, we are just a part of their diagnostic journey. But unless they don't feel that I am a part of something bigger, it's very difficult to have organization-wide standardized approach. So I think that's
you should have the same goal setting in your mind.
Yes.
You feel okay.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Superb. So changing gears to a different context, all of you are entrepreneurs. We'll start with Vidhi. Have you faced some challenge during your entrepreneurial process? What was the biggest challenge that you face, and what do you think we should do to be resilient in such a situation?
Right, yeah. Plenty of challenges, right? When we begin in 2018, this is pre-AI era, pre-COVID era. The biggest challenge was to change the mindset.
Okay.
I remember my first hire, I had to literally beg her to join us. She was like, okay, we started with teledentistry, right? Because we wanted to initiate the collection of data of our population and then build AI models to train and auto-detect things. She was like, nobody's going to use this. Why will we need it? Is it really required? And not just from the community side, from our discipline side, but also from patients' POV. It was very difficult for them to adopt new technology. Now, COVID, it was a blessing in disguise, where they understood that teledentistry, AI screenings, AI-driven diagnostics is the way to go. And now, as much as it has become a norm or it's leading to becoming a norm, you don't relate to what we had faced back then. Okay. But it was super difficult. First was the change of mindset, building the initial team. I remember my first 10 hires, super difficult, but those are still with us. It has been more than 5 years now, and they're still sticking with us. Second was the collection of data and training doctors to train in a current fashion of annotations. Right now, we after that we launched a program known as Impact Program, where it was an online curriculum. We were actually teaching doctors how do you annotate well, what is the process of moderation, and what are the golden standard of building these annotation tools.
So you are having an extra session of education after a graduate clears.
Yeah, we had clearly made a curriculum of things that we're teaching them.
Excellent. So Shanmukh, what about research and evidence-based? Did you face some problems during your Terra Nautilus installation or initiation?
Well, and it's always, and problems are every day. You wake up, be an entrepreneur, go to your office, there will be some problem always waiting for you. So, when you start from 0 to 1, or so -1 to 0, one problem is first to get the proof of concept established, get the money. So those problems, I think, are across the sector. Different people, based on which sector of business you are doing, you will face your own set of problems. To single out one single problem, which was the biggest problem of all, I can't tell right now, because different problems you face, and those problems are big at that point of time, because you have to get over those hurdles again. Another big problem will come up, and that will seem like a big problem. The problems that I'm facing currently, of course, is we are building our own clean room. To build a clean room for doing nanorobotics and the semiconductor level clean room, it's very hard because healthcare-based clean rooms are not there in India. Lot of regulatory aspects. So problems are always there. So when I started this journey, it was about proving that nanorobotics, they do work. So I think problems are every day, everywhere, and it's always there. I mean, there's no specific problem I can tell. This is a problem.
And what is your take on evidence-based dentistry? Or how important is research?
Well, okay, so this is the thing, right? So there are basically there are two types, how I understand there are two types of businesses you can do. One is a technology which is already there, already solved. Like, for example, let's say AI. AI for, it can do segmentation, it can do recognition of a tooth. So this technology was always it was invented way back by Meta. It's open source. Anyone can do it. Whoever wants to do it can do it. So that's not, and if you want to start your own business with something with AI, let's say, your job is how to scale it up. How can I make sure that it reaches to as many people as possible? The problem is not how I'm going to invent segmentation, because that part is already done. So other way is you invent a technology which sort of, you are the first one in doing it. Then comes the next problem. If you are the first one doing it, is it actually required? If it's required, how are you going to scale it up to lots of people?
All right. Okay. That's a good point to take. Dr. Jatin, I'll come to you. When you have innovated a lot of things in your career, how did you, what are the things that you did so that the innovation came to the chair side?
There have been a lot of in-house innovation and things which we have built in-house, and the second part would be leveraging our existing technology. So we have divided things smartly into two buckets, innovating inside. So most of the things which we have done on pre-purchase clarity reports, giving reports to the customers as soon as they are walking to the clinic or as soon as they are booking an at-home scan. So all of that is being done in-house. The whole AI-based customer interaction chassis is being built in-house. Then we have a very nicely built world-class manufacturing unit based out of Singh-Sandra region in the Bangalore, where we have innovated around manufacturing chassis, the whole back end of dental care, where we are building aligners, crown and bridges, implant prosthetics. All of that is being built in-house. And there is a lot of existing technology in dental care, like scanners and other integrating scanners with stents and all of that, which we have leveraged from a global players, and we have implemented in our dental chain to provide fully digitalized solution to our customers.
So it created an impact in the society.
Yes,
using this translation.
Yes, absolutely. Correct. Because with digitalization, a lot of treatments are much more predictable. The outcomes are predictable. The failure rates are lesser. Treatments become faster. And
how you achieve
Okay.
So that's
all right. Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Riddhi, I want the audience here to hear from you, what is the ultimate impact that a dentist can provide and also patient can get from this kind of venture?
So, when we started OrthoSquare, the vision was not to open 100 branches, okay? So, many of you would be thinking from the perspective of, say, starting a second chain or a third dental clinic. Now, what happens is, the first thought process is, in the first clinic, you're making, say, some lakhs of rupees, and today making lakh of rupees in a dental clinic is very easy. When we started, 50,000-60,000 rupees kamana bhi bahut difficult tha. Now, because of expensive treatments, it is very easy. So now when you are thinking that how do I replicate that, okay? Now replication is something that is actually the part of growth. So when you start the second clinic and you are not making that much amount of money, or you're not able to give the kind of treatment that you would like to give, right? So setting those system and processes. I'll give you a short story. When we were about 17 clinics, I didn't know which clinic is doing how much revenue, what is the expense, what is the kind of treatments that we're doing, like aligner se kitna aa raha hai, ya fir kaun si channel of marketing se we're getting patients. So channelizing all of that was very, very difficult. And we made an in-house software to manage that from our center level. Now this was a late study. It actually took us a lot of time to implement that back into the system. So when you are starting to, say open second, third, fourth, whatever, how many ever branches if you like, and if that is your vision, right? You need to make sure that it is replicable business. Now today we sit at the center and I can tell you what my Panchkula clinic is doing or what my Chennai clinic is doing, what is the patient flow, what patient they have set up. So that is the impact that you have on the dentists that are coming in, because you are actually shortening that 10 years, 15 years of learning within a 6 months or 3 months of joining OrthoSquare. That is the one. Now, second, when it comes to the patient, everybody wants to do everything. That is not how OrthoSquare looks at dentistry. We don't want to do everything, right? So when you are looking from the patient's perspective, the patient travels to about 2 to 4 kilometers of area. That is how they want to actually do. Only if you are in a very niche category will the patient, travel from another city to you. So you also need to realize that what is the kind of things that I bring to the table as a dentist, and then, develop that one niche which is not in your city or in your place of practice, and then expand that, because that impact that has on your own profile building, on your income, as well as the patient, is going to be very, very different.
All right. That brings in a concept of bringing quality and at low cost to everybody.
It's not just the quality over cost. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting things that are not there where you are practicing. And believe me, just, where everybody wants to do root canal, you don't need to be there. In the last 8 years, I have concentrated my practice only on implants and aligners. I don't do general at all. It was very difficult to tell the patient that a root canal is going to be done by a root canal specialist. They're like, "Nahi, Dr. Riddhi, aap hi kariye," because they've been seeing. But that is not what gets you growth. So identify that niche. If you are an endodontist, you are an endodontist. Then how do you bring an implantologist and get that thing sorted for yourself is something that you have to look.
So you need to discover that niche before you venture into all of this. Okay, so you need to innovate day to day. So Shilika, how do you define innovation in your perspective? And what do you think are the skill sets required for a dentist to start innovating stuff?
I think innovation is even as simple as when you're greeting your patient when they walk through your practice. They come into the door and maybe you have some small card for them or something like that. So innovation can be in every action that we take, doing something different for a better outcome is, I think, for me, what innovation is. And when it comes to even all the creators over here, right, it's something that's really innovative. It takes a lot of courage. I've also done my BDS and then passed out, and, entrepreneurship, of course, has innovation, but every single dentist, when they're in their own clinic, they're innovating every day, trying to manage operations. Every creator that's sitting here has to come up with a new topic, a new style of shooting their reel or communicating their message. And I think as long as we keep thinking about how can we do this better, that's where true innovation lies.
Innovation lies. Excellent. So now we will have a single question for all of you, but you'll have to think and reminisce about it. If you want to suggest one change in the dental curriculum, right? If you want to suggest one change in dental curriculum, which will help the students to have a disruptive kind of growth process, an unconventional career. So what is that one thing that you would like to do? Who would like to go first? Shanmukh?
I think we should reduce the time period for dentistry. I mean, BDS 5 years is, I think, 5 years is too
quick,
much.
you feel?
I feel absolutely, because I don't think we need 5 years to do this. I'll be very honest, because I feel any dentist who learns dentistry actually happens in 4th year, final year, dentistry. Of course, anatomy, all these things are important, but I feel 5 years is a stretch. I mean, again, I might sound very controversial, but anyway, I have been taught to, speak my heart, but I think it's too much of time is being, Professor, you have taught me many things. I don't want to get there, but I think, again, I think 5 years is a bit of a stretch. I think it can be shrunk down at least by a year. And in that 1 year, a lot of things can be learnt which are more relevant in this age.
Can you quote some? Or that's exactly what we want to know.
What can be taught
what should be taught extra, new, different in a BDS curriculum?
Understood. So one thing, if a student is coming to a dental college, he or she is there to learn dentistry.
Correct.
Right? I cannot start teaching them, okay, I'm going to teach you entrepreneurship, I'm going to teach you the basics of AI, I'm going to teach you linear algebra. Those things cannot happen. Right? So I feel a dental college should teach dentistry. I mean, that's what it should focus on. And after that, 1 year should be given as a gap year to that student. You go explore what is important, which you feel, whatever you have learned from the dental college, go and explore other world, other places. There are so many now, everything is online. All the courses are online. Entrepreneurship, so much of online content is there. Learn from there. And if you seek some clinical relevance to whatever you have learned, which you think you can apply that knowledge into clinics, come back to us, we will guide you. Rather than turning dental schools into, I'm going to teach you some entrepreneurship, teach dentistry and let the students go explore. And if they think they can connect whatever they have learned in that gap year with the dental colleges or the clinics, come back, we're going to facilitate that from our end.
Understood. So summary is reduce the time period, give 1 extra year for learning the extra, depending on the student's needs.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Jatin, what's your take on it?
I think building the wave of entrepreneurship in dentistry to create employment for young budding dentists is something which is required right now. Because for dental students, when they come out of college, there is no job opportunities. Like government jobs are just 1% or even lesser than 1%. So they only end up doing internship in some of the clinics or think about opening their own centers. If there is a concept of on-campus placements that can only come up with lot of entrepreneurs starting up and then having on-campus placements and employing dentists in various roles, that could be a diversified roles like clinical, non-clinical, more of dental chains plus some other innovative things coming up. Where dentists can choose the opportunities as per their likes, dislikes, and then pursue their masters accordingly into clinical or non-clinical.
What curricular change would you like? What changes should be done so that the person will be ready for the corporate world?
Yeah, so in the graduation, there should be some things related to entrepreneurship plus some things which should be also on the managerial side along with the graduation.
But the way you guys have come up, you just jumped into entrepreneurship. You learned it on the go.
Yes.
So how can we help them think in those angles?
Can I answer?
Yes.
You cannot teach a bird how to fly. I mean, bird needs to jump from the cliff to learn how to fly. I mean, it will be very sad if a dental college turns into an entrepreneur school, and I'm going to tell you what a scale-up is. There are business schools who are going to teach you how it is done. And the business school doesn't teach about business. I mean, anything which can be a business, which needs to be scaled up, that is being taught in those business schools, right? Yeah. I feel dental school should teach the clinical skills. If you want to become a successful entrepreneur, go and learn from elsewhere. If dental schools can help you with the knowledge what they have about clinics, how to do a procedure well, you should facilitate that. I have been to many dental colleges where I've been asked to give a talk. Then they say, can we introduce a entrepreneurship curriculum? We are thinking of, it's not required.
Not required. Okay.
I actually disagree completely with that. the thing when you come to practice, okay, there are so many things you're learning on the job, and the first thing is how to talk to a patient. A. How do you convey your knowledge? B. You don't need to convert a dental school into an entrepreneurial school, but you definitely need to teach the dentists who are upcoming what is practice management. Where do you source your, the first chair I bought was a 12 lakh rupees dental chair. For what joy, I don't know. You end up spending so much money which is of no use. So the point is that you don't need to teach them entrepreneurship, but you need to teach them practice management. Practice management gives them entrepreneurship. I have hired a lot of dentists who have over the period realized that they are not wanting to do dentistry. That is not something that they want to do. When Palak came to me when she was a baby, she was like, Dr. Riddhi, this is not what I am interested in. I am interested in Medi-Study Go, and this is where. So identifying that path also comes over a period of time. I agree. I always tell the people who have come, okay, what MDS I should choose. I'm an orthodontist who is doing implants. So education does not mean it is going to be your end path. Your end path is when you start practicing, you realize. So it is very, very important to teach that. And I agree with your gap year. That actually is an excellent idea. But practice management should be a part of an education
communication
system.
And practice management would be the key.
It should be complete practice management, and it should be taught to every single dentist in their final year that what is it required. You can call, see, what is your end goal? Now you as a dentist are creating what job? 1 job, 2 jobs? I have 450 employees with me. What are we as dentists doing for our own community? Right? Hiring 200 doctors, 50 plus specialists, 200 dentists. It's not a small fleet.
Correct.
The point is that if you do not have that learning from the start, the journey to come here is 18 years.
Understood.
Exactly. I would like to add on Dr. Riddhi's point, it's not about adding entrepreneurship courses, but like barring research or 1 or 2 streams, practice management and managerial skills are required in every part of dentistry. Running a clinic, running dental chain, or any other thing a dentist pursues also requires soft skills. And when we go for hiring, we see all these things missing, and it becomes very difficult to have people getting into that roles.
Okay.
Not just clinical roles, but when we started off, we preferred having dentists in the managerial roles also.
But
When we saw that dentists are not at all having a perspective of team building, working with teams, having camaraderie with different teams, then we realized it's better to get people from managerial side, train them on the dental side, and which is
a good suggestion.
Which is painful and sad for the dental industry. If we have small skill training included in the graduation courses, or maybe as a add-on courses, it would be a great thing to have.
Thank you. So Dr. Vikas has joined. We are just discussing what are the various academic changes that you would request for the dental curriculum so that an entrepreneurial journey will be better. So you have your thoughts on that? You have taken a lot of risk. You have an NSE company. Definitely this. What do you think a dentist should have extra?
Sir, thank you so much for allowing me to join in the middle. I think third year में जब हम आते हैं college में, we should be given a private setup. There should be a area like a dental clinic, and we should be
managing it.
We should be managing it. We should be doing all the cases under guidance, be it oral prophylaxis. Maybe if there is an implant patient, that should be done under guidance, or maybe we should be an observer. Like the student should be an observer, and there should be a PG or a professor doing it, guiding them. But that should be his or her clinic from third year onwards, and that will change the whole game. Management will begin from third year when we enter the clinic. I think this should happen. This is already being done in Savita, in South India, when college is doing it. I think every college should adopt it with time. This will change a lot. And then obviously there should be added management courses. First of all, how to manage the human capital, how to manage your assistant,
HR skills. Yes, very important.
how to manage
To you. Maybe both of you, when you're talking, add a little more about what is the finance literacy and other
That's what I was actually just
Please.
going to come to. I think, off the top of my head, corporate finance is number one. Like, you need to know what revenue is. You need to know what margins are, what expenses. When we leave dentistry, I don't think we know any of it. We just know, okay, we need to charge X. I don't know how much to charge. So that's definitely one subject, corporate finance. The second would be marketing. These are not hard subjects and they're not hardcore entrepreneurship or MBA. But in the first year and second year as well, we have a lot of time on hands. We just have 3-4 subjects per year.
Understood.
Like fourth year, maybe no one wants to study that. But if you set the foundation of corporate finance, marketing, and, to some extent management, people management, etc., like HR, people management, I think it will have a much better holistic kind of grooming. And of course, I'll leave this to Vidhi if she wants to add about it, like AI and annotation. I know it can't be a core part of the curriculum, but it is the future, so
in vogue with the technology.
yeah. So
The very specific skills like AI and annotations and something in ML could be added electives if they want to. Now, I'll give an example of KLE Belgaum, right? I'm on the board of their studies. And what they've done is they've added electives for both clinical and non-clinical subjects. And these electives are as small as I think 2 to 3 months, not regularly, only over weekends, where students can choose the subjects they want to. So, as you mentioned, right, I just agree with one thing. If they've come to learn dentistry, they should only learn dentistry end to end. But there are various aspects of dentistry which are not being taught. Likewise, what she said, right, finances, even governance. Talk about governance, people have no idea. And then when we start up, when we scale up our companies and we have basic issues like governance, and we've had those in India, and then comes the downfall, it actually degrades the Indian startup ecosystem altogether. And then when we are looked at internationally, people don't want to trust. So I'll just give an example. We are scaling up in first world countries, right? As I mentioned, in Korea, in Singapore. And when we present that, okay, this governance, this finances have been done from our teams in India, they don't want to accept it because they feel that, okay, they are not tier 1 processes. So they only want to get those done from these high-end regions. So I think that's the whole reason, because if these are integrated, and again, for small stuff like these, very particularly, we can anytime introduce electives. And I think through curriculum, 20% the DCI also allows us, right, to put in additional stuff, whatever is required.
Yes, but there are a lot of liberties have not been given. So you wanted to add something, please?
If I... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's all.
So you would be surprised, and because I hire so many and I fire also so many, even the basic things like, CBCT reading is not very clear to the young dentist. So see, the thing is, there are certain basic principles of dentistry that need to be taught, yes. But what is current? What is the outside requirement? And how do that change anybody's, dental perspective, their dental plannings, their dental treatments? So if you are looking from the perspective of only dentist development, there is still a lot of lacking in our system. So we really need to look at the complete education system. We need to identify what is current, what is outdated. We don't need to learn a lot of things that is absolutely outdated for us. We need to really change the curriculum completely to the current requirements, including just a simple thing like reading a CBCT. That should be like a mandatory thing. So that really needs to be done.
Understood. So to summarize,
I want to indicate myself here, because I think the whole panel was on one end and I'm on one end. So I have to indicate myself. So I said the student should be taught dentistry and 1 year should be the gap period, right? That's what I said.
Correct.
Fine. So of course, like for example, of course, they run a successful chain of businesses. For them, they need a dentist who knows how to manage people,
Correct.
She runs a diagnostic center. She knows someone who knows CBCT very well. right? So, I mean, she needs someone who knows a little bit about AI. So there are different skill sets that are required across this panel, right? So all I'm saying is teach them dentistry in a dental school. Give them. I'm not saying don't teach anything else other than dentistry. Of course not. That's not what I meant.
No, we got the point.
But
Yes.
that 1 year they can. But that 1 year they can figure out where they want to be. Like someone wants to have their own diagnostic centers. Someone wants to have their chain of clinics. So they can learn the skill that is.
I agree. I took your concept as focus. So you focus on dentistry, give them time which you wanted, and during that time we teach them different things like how Jatin said, managerial skills, teamwork, how she spoke about leadership and what are the qualities that you're looking for. And I also liked the in-house recruitment plans which you were suggesting about. And yes, we have to be in line with technology. You have to teach them AI and finance. And of course, maybe a third year idea is a good idea. We will look at that. So since Vikas is here, so I would like to your thoughts on risks. You have taken a lot of risk during your course. So what is it that people should be careful about risk, and should they fear risk or should they go for it? And how do we manage such a thing?
As far as the dental clinic is concerned, or anything else?
In terms of going in an unconventional, we are not true dentists. In the sense, we are doing something more than dentistry. So you have taken a risk in moving out of the core business, right?
Yeah.
So
first risk, I think, is not taking a risk.
not
First risk you are taking is not taking a risk.
not taking the risk.
You should always experiment. You should always try to do lot of new things.
Okay.
If not lot of new things, at least some of the new things. If you don't experiment, that means you are not growing. So biggest risk, according to me, in a small business is not analyzing what you're doing. मेरे brother बैठे हुए हैं संदीप. He told me in the beginning of dental cards journey, he told me if we don't show a person at the end of the day what he has done in the form of a report or a template, that means he doesn't know what he is doing. So the biggest risk, I think, is not making a report, not making a simple template of what you have done in the day. And every day you can analyze what you have done and then you can grow with it. I think that is the biggest risk if you don't do it.
All right. Okay, so we are coming
I'd like to add one thing.
Yes,
to that.
please.
I think we as Indians, I know with the history of, being under the British Raj for 200 years and the colonial mindset, we are very fearful. I've been talking to a few fellow colleagues from other geographies. They are so fearless. There's no fear. We fear a lot. And it's not just about log kya kahenge. I think maybe a little bit of stage has been passed there. But what if I fail? What if this doesn't work? If you don't take the risk, as he mentioned, you're just not getting started. At the stage where we are, if you see from a perspective, okay, I have made this much and I lose it all, instead of maybe you can reach $1 billion dream, right? As Dr. Velmani mentioned. Fear is something that all of us really need to work on.
I just want to add very small thing. When I was doing NDS, I was given a paper and I needed to do exactly like that paper. Like, come on, we are doing research. We have to fail at our research and we have to publish the failed result of our research. That we tried this and this doesn't work. We as education system pe, that has to start that the research have to be unique. It should not have done. I don't need a master paper. I am coming with a unique research. This is my new research. This is nowhere else it is done. Whatever results I get, I get. So that is also one change because that starts with fear. Fear of failure. अरे thesis में अगर negative results आए तो ठीक है ना, negative results आया.
से भी publish करो.
हाँ. And that is very important because
Very
if you see failure
Agreed.
is people don't know how to manage failures.
Yes, I think that also should be taught.
Yes.
You should give enough freedom in the dental
See,
curriculum.
failure is a failure unless you cannot manage it.
Correct.
If you can manage it, it is just a complication.
Superb. So now one final question which I would like all of you to think about would be, if you had one message for the dental educators and the creators to embrace such an unconventional pathway of going, what would that be? Okay, we'll come to that. You just think about that. Shanmukh wanted to add something?
I'll wait.
Yeah, maybe. So can we have one or two questions from the audience? Anyone would like to address the panelists? You can just name them and ask a question. Anyone? Okay, no? Anyone? Anyone? In the audience? Yes, please. You her a mic, please? Can we get her a mic, please? Please introduce yourself and whom do you want?
Yeah.
We'll restrict to 2 questions. We are already 35 minutes up.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonam Gandhi from Mumbai, and this question is to Dr. Riddhi. So, you're quite an inspiration because you have developed such a big chain of dental clinics. So, my question would be, ma'am, how did you manage to build up such a big empire without diluting your personal touch amongst such a big range of clinics? Like, how do you manage to give your personal touch to these clinics?
Time management. It is extremely important because you need to know your shut off buttons. Okay. First thing is very important, have very good system and processes. Because when you are building such a big organization, you are working 24 hours. I have a daughter to take care of. And I have a husband also to take care, who's even a partner. So have one right co-founder who finds the strength in things that you are not good at. So that is very, very important. First, you have a partner who knows things that you don't know first. Second, very important is whenever somebody joins us, make sure that your vision of OrthoSquare, like for me, vision of OrthoSquare translates to the assistant also who's there. That is second. Third, build in processes which makes it scalable. Okay, I will be able to observe these things from here, right? That is and the most important thing that we learned very early on in our life is, which I think Dr. Velu also said, is learn to save money. Because at a chain level or any organizational level, you cannot buy things at the rate that you were buying when you were a single chair owner. The more you save, as he said, that don't save from the patients, like don't earn from the patients, earn from the vendors. When I save my money from the vendors, I can give the same treatment at the same earning like any single chair practitioner. So your bulk buying actually reduces your cost, and cost reduction does not mean quality reduction. Cost reduction means your ability to bargain. That is your fourth. And finally, love yourself. It has to be the topmost priority. Do your core workout. We as dentists are going to lose that core. If you want to work for 50, 60 years with your clinical practice and admin, you need to have a strong core. So love yourself.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? We'll take one more question. Yes.
Hello, Dr. Vidhi. My question is for you.
Little louder, not audible.
My question is for Dr. Vidhi. Ma'am, you have built Scano AI, and I just want you to ask one question. Dentistry is considered as a very hands-on field. So what inspired you to build this dental screening machine? And it's gone to great heights. So I want to know what inspired you to start this, and how do you see it as a complementing replacement for a dentist or something like that?
Let me clarify. It's not a replacement, first of all, right?
Yeah, complementing a dentist.
Correct. Yes. So I think the whole problem statement is something that every dentist here in the room can relate. We are just playing in that 10%, not even 10, 9% patients who are coming to us only when it is too late for corrective and cosmetic treatments, right? As Dr. Velmani mentioned, if you want to scale up, start scaling every patient. That's the biggest scaling opportunity. Everything lies in preventive, and how do we develop that preventive mindset is only by giving users who are now heavy digital tech savvy users, right? By creating that patient first experience and giving the screening tool onto their hands. So that was the whole idea, and I keep sharing this message every time I'm speaking, that more number of people have mobile phone connected to internet than having a toothbrush. So it's just the lack of awareness and not affordability. that people are not coming to our dental clinics for regular treatment, and preventive is a far-fetched dream even in India, right? Even from the elite perspective. So what if they have smartphones, they know how to use it, they have access to internet, they can just simply scan and understand in a representative format of an image which they understand. Patients cannot read x-rays, but they can definitely see image, and they can see the bounding boxes that represents what is wrong today, and to add on top of that, what can go further wrong in progressive manner if they don't take the action today. Now all of us, we have seen patients keep procrastinating. Madam, there's a huge deep cavity, लेकिन दर्द नहीं है, जाने दो, बाद में देखेंगे. But when we show them this deep cavity is now turning into grossly decayed, and hey, by the way, you're losing your tooth now, they are shit scared and they want to get the treatment done. So we just need to present in a way that they understand. That's it, just understand. Correct, that's all. And that kind of inspired me to start this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I would like you to continue and say what is that one message that you would like to give the dental educators?
Before I answer, I want to ask a question to audience here. How many of you here starting in the room want to start up something? To build a company, want to start creating content? Just one? I'm sure there are many hands, right?
The whole team must be like that, isn't it?
Everybody wants to build something. Now, out of this, how many of you think that you're ready to start up? You're ready, right?
See, there are more hands ready than the first question.
The answers, you have it inside of you. My only advice would be fearless. Don't be scared. If you're failing, it's okay. Fail 10,000 times, not a problem. All big human beings who had invented, they had failed. And I really want you to be true to yourself of something that why you're building. I keep coming across a lot of people that I want to solve some fancy problem. I ask them why? Nahi, mast dikhega na? Fame, fancy problem. Arey bhai, India mein there are so many root problems which needs to be solved. And that's the whole reason we are 38th rank when it comes to Global Innovation Index.
Okay.
We are not inventing a lot of things. We might be innovating, and that's okay because we have so many problems to solve. Don't look for solving fancy problems and to start up just because you want to acquire glam or something or fame. Just start with a genuine problem. Be super focused. Say no to a lot of things. Clear noise. And just like again Dr. Velmini said, you should know where you want to just focus on your domain and scale there. I'm sure you can do wonders.
Excellent. Good message. Good message. Riddhi? Yeah, one message for dental educators. Yes, educators, creators.
See, I'll tell you very frankly, people don't do treatment with people whom they don't know. And today's world, the best thing that you can do is you can genuinely show yourself online. When any patient sees you through 4 or 5 channels and comes, maybe he has seen your ad or a thing on a Google platform, then he has gone on your page, maybe Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, has seen you educating something or doing something, and when he comes to you and comes for a treatment and you tell them that this is what you require, the chances of that patient converting into a real patient paying money is almost 99%. So understand this, when you are creating content, you really need to realize that what are you trying to achieve with that content? Are you trying to increase leads and patients to your clinic, or you're trying to build yourself as a brand? And believe me, the content for both of that is very, very different. So identify that.
Identify first. Okay, Dr. Jatin?
I feel all of us have to move out of the perspective and mindset of competition to perspective of collaboration and growing together. Like, Indian market is highly untapped. Indian population is much more than US population, and still the dental care and product market is just $5 billion.
Very low.
Versus US product and dental services market is $150 billion market. In India, preventive dentistry is untapped. Cosmetic dentistry is very minimal. So all of us has the opportunity to do really good in our careers by collaborating and helping each other grow. Plus, in dental care in India, if we see there's a huge opportunity of dental tourism. If we see dental care, it's just 1% of the healthcare. But if we see dental tourism, it's 10% of the medical tourism of the country. So lot of people organically coming to India to take dental treatment. We can collaborate, make India well known in the global scale to be like a #1 dental care place. A lot of people coming, traveling. Like Turkey has done such a nice job in.
You are asking us to tap that potential.
Yes.
Excellent. Understood.
With the creators and with the people here, young energy here, we can like have an impact on the global scale as a India growing as a dental care market.
Yeah.
I just want to add, you go to Bangkok or Hong Kong and you go there and you get these big ads, dental treatments and all of that. India, the problem is dentists are killing dentists. And I'm not talking about you and me. I'm talking about the topmost people who are sitting at the top level at the board of dentistry, because anything you market is unethical. So you are not able to market yourself at all. And if you do not able to show what you could do, there is no way at the end the people who want to get treatment will come, because they are not getting educated. So that is something that you really need to change.
Dr. Shanmugh, what's your message?
Hello. Yeah. So my message to all the creators. So now, first thing, like, don't listen to success talks, right? I came to this town with 10,000 rupees. Now I have become a billionaire. Don't listen to those success talks. Listen to data. There's a wonderful book by Malcolm Gladwell. There's a book called Outliers. You all should read that book. So, of course, we celebrate, Bill Gates is a billionaire, Steve Jobs is a billionaire, they did all this hard work. Trust me, if the book, it takes n number of data points, n number of all the instances where people have become successful, and the book concludes that a person becomes successful because of multiple situations that happened in his or her life, they became successful. For example, like Bill Gates became successful because he was born in a rich family, and he had access to a school computer, which was very rare in those days. He learned coding very early in life. So many examples they keep giving. So all I'm saying is, if you are meant to become successful, you will become successful, right? There is all these attributes of be fearless, be do that. These things will happen. If you are meant to be, you will be.
There is a component of luck involved also.
You can call it God. We can call it God. You can call it situations. But if you are meant to be successful, you will be successful. You will be in the right spot at the right time, right? N number of examples. Only reason you are successful is because you are in the right place at the right time. A lot of people will take offense to that. No, it's because of my own attributes. I did the hard work. I took the risk. No. So you were at the right place at the right time. It so happened you became successful. Success is a chance, is a probability. Trust me.
Yes.
Right? It is completely like counterintuitive to what everyone has said on the stage. Success is a chance. It's a probability. If you are meant to be, you will be.
You will be.
Right? Don't listen to success stories. I came to this, I have nothing in my life.
But those are inspiring things, Shanmugh. So yeah, we will take both the aspects together. Yes. So we will take opportunity as it comes, and some mode of luck.
You will be there if the
Intelligence.
Yeah. So, I interact with a lot of dentists because we run a diagnostic chain. And one common theme is that it's a very lonely job for a solo dentist running their practice, right? I'm not talking about the chains or the organizations, but a lot of solo dentists, they hesitate to ask for help, be it from their seniors, be it from someone like a diagnostic center, or maybe, I think the closest they are is to like the vendors who are kind of supplying to them or interacting with them on a day-to-day basis. And I just want to say that there's no shame in asking for help, be it for, be it for your patients, for your cases, for maybe some support that you need in your clinic. And when we start asking, we are really surprised to see how many people can actually come forward. Yeah. So I think the day I started asking for help is when I think doors started opening for me. And that's one takeaway message that I want to give.
I think that's a good message. Dr. Vikas?
Used by her answer that are you talking about the dental practice or are we talking about
the dental? She actually addressed, how I understood was the dental educators and creators, you should always ask for help. You should not shy away from it.
Yeah, anyone. I mean, anyone who's sitting in this room, be it...
That's how I took it.
Yeah, be it anyone, I think that's what I...
Now that's understood. According to me, learning continuously and consistency of what you're doing will lead to the growth and the success of an influencer, a digital content creator, a private practice, or anything. So this is the key according to me.
Excellent. So I think we had a wonderful session over here. So shall we take it? One question? Panelists? Yes. One question. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon all. I am Arunachalam. I'm heading education for iPlanet Education, we are Apple authorized education specialist. And I am invited here by MediStudyGo, and we are tied up with them. And we are taking MediStudyGo solutions to a lot of dental and medical colleges. And when Mr. Doctor, when he was referring to Steve Jobs, I just had the motivation to ask something about because actually what I am doing, my job is to take Apple technology to educational institutions, whether it is engineering or K-12, whatever it be. But presently here we are very much focused on like dental and medical education, and we are trying to give the best of technology what is available in Apple to all the colleges. And so this week we would be signing up with 3 colleges.
You can come to the question there.
Yeah. So what I just want to know, like what is that you expect from us as from industry, technology industry, that we can do more to our education.
And the question is addressed to? Question is addressed to anyone?
To the panel.
Yeah, anyone would like to address? Yeah.
Sorry. So if you go to international conferences like IDS and all, the amount of innovation that you see in dental conferences in India, it is really, really sad, right? So what major things that, the technology currently lacking in India, which I would say, and which is India's caught up, but one is, just put in, your x-rays and the AI gives you complete diagnostics. That is something that I think it is the need of an hour, immediate need of an hour. This is one technology that I think I think we are late.
Dr. Vikas, would you like to add something? How? I think your question is, what would you want us to do to
Also us to break, us, we want him to break.
Okay, how can industry help us?
Exactly. So what is that that you think we can add value to the education?
And yes.
Who's this?
So we have a lot of products like endomotors, implant motors, apex locators, but none of them are digitalized in a way that we have a central platform to see what all those products are doing. For example, a clinic, how many root canals was done by an endomotor in the whole year, and what was the most common RPM used? That's a very basic thing I'm talking about. So if you can make the whole ecosystem, like the Internet of Things for all the products we are using in a dental clinic, that analysis will definitely help a dentist and the companies building those products to make better products with time. So if you can do it, please do it for us.
I think the best thing would be what you and Dr. Palak have organized. This Dental Spotlight itself is a first step towards industry, academia, entrepreneurial collaboration. So I think such events where we can network with each other and get to know the problems, and we will be able to solve the whole thing. So I think we should conclude the panel discussion. Thank you, everyone, panelists. So it was a big round of applause for them.
Thank you so much, sir.
Victor. Yes. Thanks.
You are piece of as a killer.
Chanyu. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the entrepreneurship panel. And now we would like to call Ms. Chandni on stage to felicitate our dear entrepreneurs and our moderator, Dr. Shrikant. Can we have Ms. Chandni on stage, please?
Mrs. Chandni.
Thank you, Mrs. Chandni. I would like to invite Mr. Sandeep Agarwal on stage to kindly felicitate the remaining fellow entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please have a huge round of applause? थक गए हैं सब. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know you guys must have some questions for the panelists, but all of that should come as a form of a comment on all the videos that are going to go up, right? Okay.